Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Um, my name is Julia Portnoff. I am the coordinator for the Parenting Center in the school district. I am an elementary school social worker, as well as an anti-bullying specialist. I'm thrilled to introduce to you all Carrie Wabel, Director of Access and Equity. Carrie has been an administrator for over 12 years, and she is also currently a presenter for the New Jersey Principals and Supervisors Association. I invited her here this evening because I know many parents are interested in learning more about the district's policies and procedures as it relates to bullying, and Carrie has such a wealth of knowledge in this area. While Carrie and I have only recently begun working together, it is clear how passionate she is about sharing this information and helping families navigate these topics. Tonight, she's going to focus on harassment, intimidation, and bullying on the elementary level, as well as the differences between conflicts and bullying, and how we can all partner together to best support your child's social and emotional learning. So with that, I'm going to let Carrie share her screen and we'll get started.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I am not new to presenting online, but new to WebEx. So just give me a moment. Share audio. Okay. Okay. And Julia, you can tell me how it's going. Are you
Looks great.
everything? Okay, great. So first of all, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really passionate about this topic. I don't want to ever say I'm excited about bullying, but I'm passionate about it because I think that empowering our students and children um, to know what to do in this situation, to navigate these situations, and know when to go to help for help is really important. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm currently the director of Access and Equity. Prior to this, I was a curriculum director for many years and a principal. But my most important job is I'm a mom of four, from ages from 12 to 18. And so I have definitely navigated a lot of the situations we're going to talk about today and really, thought at night about my kids and worried about them. And so first and foremost, I'm a mom, and that's um, part of the place I come to you with because I know that we worry about our kids, and I'm certainly not immune to the worrying. It was passed on from generation to generation, and we want what's best for them. So that's how I come to you. Um, so just to give you a little bit about what's going to happen tonight, um, I do want to share a timeline of how to report the timeline of the harassment, intimidation, and bullying law, and also how to report it, because it's important that you can get information to us so that we can help you and help your child. I want to talk about what an HIB, or what a harassment, intimidation, and bullying is in the state of New Jersey. I like to say it's not the 1980s bullying that some of us remember. Some of us might not remember the 80s. That I'm showing my age, but just so that you can really understand how New Jersey defines bullying. We're going to talk a little bit about cyberbullying, and I know it's elementary school, but a lot of the phone etiquette and phone rules, kids are starting to navigate those in fourth and fifth grade for sure. And one key difference between bullying, or a few key differences between bullying and conflict, are going to be really important for you to understand. And finally, how are we at the school and district level helping your child through these situations, and also how can you help? So how can we collaborate together? So just first and foremost, every school in this district has an anti-bullying specialist. Um, I've listed the pre-K 5 anti-bullying specialist, and our district has a coordinator. That's the Dr. Gilbert is the assistant superintendent for access and equity, and he acts as our anti-bullying coordinator. And so if there are questions about bullying, these are wonderful resources for you. And we're going to talk about first who you go to, but these are also people in your corner to talk to about HIV. Okay. Okay. Oh, Julia, did I just come out of sharing?
We lost you.
Okay, let's see. Sorry about that.
No worries. There we go. We're back.
Okay. Oh, and now I can. Okay. So first of all, just to tell you a little bit about what happens when you first inform us about a bullying incident, or if a teacher or staff member notices a child who might be bullying someone. The first thing that happens is it's reported to the school principal. And that's where the investigation, that's where everything starts. So it's reported to the principal, and the principal on that same day will call or email or reach out to families of both parties, right? The person who's reported as bullying and the potential victim, and just say, look, we're going to start an investigation. We just want to make sure that you know about it. And then the staff member, if a staff member hears about it, they have to write a report over the course of the next 2 days. And within 10 days, our ABS, for example, Julia would then start her investigation. And an investigation sounds very formal, but it is with little ones. So it's Julia, taking a student to her classroom and talking to them for a little bit just about what's going on. She might have to talk to, if it's, let's say it's on the playground, a few of the students that maybe saw the incident. And then she completes, or ABSs complete the investigation, and then the principal will let you know the initial determination. The Board of Education reviews those investigations over a period, or the determination over a period of 2 board meetings. And so once that's complete, we send a formal letter to you letting you know if it was bullying or if not. But before that, of course, you're getting that information, what the initial determination was from the school principal. And if you're concerned about your child, if there was an incident, you can report it in lots of different ways. The first thing, the big picture on my screen, is a picture of our website. And if you go to the bottom, Dr. Gilbert, who's our anti-bullying coordinator's name, is on there, but also it says click more for more about bullying. And there is a reporting tool right on our website, and you can write what happened, and that goes right to the principal. The other thing you can do is you can let your child's teacher know, you can let the school principal know, or a counselor or a social worker. And all of those people know to take it right to the principal, who will open the investigation. And so lots of different ways, and any of those ways they're all the same, and they will all move the investigation forward. So I like to say, like I said before, this is not the 1980s definition of bullying, right? We think about those movies where someone takes someone's lunch money, or harasses someone on the playground. New Jersey has a super strict definition of bullying, and one of the strongest in the country. And so if something is bullying, it has to hit all of these indicators. So I'm going to explain a little bit about each indicator. Julia, just a quick question. Is there a box that you're seeing on my screen covering any of the words?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, great. Okay, so the first part is it has to be any gesture, written, verbal, any kind of incident. But New Jersey makes a determination it can be one incident or a bunch of incidences that happen one after the other. So it doesn't have to happen over and over again for it to be considered bullying. The next part of the definition is it has to be based on a perceived or real characteristic. So when someone is being unkind, it has to be that they are unkind because of someone's race or color, religion, ancestry, national origin, all of different classifications, or a perceived characteristic. For example, that perceived characteristic could be because I'm being mean because they look, let's say, they look gay, right? That's something, that's a term that some younger students use, because they look like they are something. So it doesn't have to be real, an actual characteristic, it could be perceived. The third one is it has to occur on school property or off school property. I do think that one is a little interesting. So basically, it can happen anywhere, but the state made determination that it could be on or off school grounds, and they were very specific about that. The fourth indicator is it has to substantially disrupt the child's education or the school operation. And that's really important because there are some incidences which someone says an unkind thing, maybe it is about someone's characteristic, and it doesn't disrupt the child's their education. That doesn't mean that we're not going to address the issue. And that's really important here, because just because something might not be bullying doesn't mean it's not a code of conduct violation. And I like to tell parents that when I used to make my phone calls as a principal, I would say to the family, I would say, I'm going to address this if it's a bullying incident or if it's a code of conduct incident. Either way, we're going to take care of this situation. It just may not hit the threshold of the New Jersey definition, but it doesn't mean it's not important and that we're not going to address it. And then finally, in order for it to be a bullying incident, it has to have one of those bottom three characteristics. A person should know that it would cause physical or emotional harm, and that is a reasonable person of that child's age. So if we're talking about a kindergarten bullying incident, a reasonable kindergartner would know that that's not okay. It could be insulting or demeaning, or it could create a hostile environment by being physically or emotionally harmful. And that would be a proven physical or emotional harm. So what happens is that Julia and our other ABSs go through a series of questions with our students and possibly teachers or any other students that witness the event. And then they determine, based on each one of these indicators, whether the incident is bullying. If it is bullying, then the ABSs and the principals work to take next steps to support both the victim and the alleged offender, is what New Jersey calls the other person. If it's not bullying, the principal and the ABS, more working as a social worker, might do some conflict resolution, might give some lessons on kindness, and might do a series of other things. So either way, again, it's addressed. So just to be specific about the motivating characteristics, that it's the second indicator for HIB, what's listed on our left, not in the gray box, are all of the different characteristics that by law are protected. And those could be motivating factors for bullying. These are fairly self-explanatory, but I do like to point out the Crown Act, which is relatively new in New Jersey, that if someone's hair is a part of their cultural background, that is also a protected class of people and students. Other examples of perceived characteristic or other characteristics might be weight or height or housing status or socioeconomic status, intelligence, perceived sexual orientation, perceived religion. So those are all that second indicator, that motivation. And if it doesn't have that indicator, it's not bullying according to New Jersey, But again, we would still handle it as a code of conduct incident if the student did something that was against the code of conduct. Okay. Just to talk a little bit about cyberbullying. I know many of your students are in the kindergarten, 5th grade, because that's the presentation we're giving tonight. But many of our students are getting phones as young as 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade. What starts to happen, I would say between 3rd and 4th grade, is students really start to socialize using their phone. And there are times when children say unkind things on the phone. And so it's really important to set those ground rules. And we do that as well as part of our curriculum, but really talking about what we can do and what we can't do on the phone. As you know, even adults feel like, I call them keyboard warriors, right? We say things that we wouldn't say in person to people in the internet outer space. And so really making sure that our kids know that if you wouldn't say something to someone's face, that it's probably not something that we should be saying online. And then I'm going to give you some tools at the end, which are really important to help remember for the students as well. I'm just going to play a short video on cyberbullying that I always find helpful for our students. Julia, can you give me a thumbs up once I push play? Thanks.
Hey, I'm Darius.
And I'm Maya. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of addicted to my phone and my computer.
We both are. But hey, they do great things.
They're great at waking us up.
They let us have important conversations with our friends.
And they keep us informed about the world.
So yeah, our phones and computers are amazing. But we don't always do amazing things with them.
It's all too common that we hear about our friends being cyberbullied. Or maybe we've even experienced cyberbullying ourselves.
Cyberbullying is any sort of communication through your phone or your computer that's meant to hurt or intimidate another person. If it happens to you, it's hard not to react. And if you're the one doing it, it's easy to forget that you might be hurting a real person.
You never know what someone might be going through. With so much negativity on social media, more and more kids are experiencing anxiety and depression.
And I would never want to be the person who makes that worse.
You've probably heard the phrase, "think before you speak," a million times.
But this might be a new one. Think before you post.
The next time you want to say something out of anger or make a joke about someone online, think about how it might feel if it happened to you. You might think they deserve it, or you're just joking around. But what you're about to do is bullying.
If you see it happening to someone else, be courageous enough to speak up for them in a positive way.
In order to stand up for yourself, remember these tips. Block, report, and tell an adult.
Block the person bullying you. Report the abuse if you can. And remember, keep the messages. You might need to show them to an adult.
Tell an adult you trust. They want to help you.
Remember, what we say to each other matters.
Yeah, you never know what someone else might be going through.
And if you're being bullied, it's not your fault. No one has the right to hurt you or make you feel unsafe, online or in person.
Remember,
Block, report, and tell an adult.
Even though it doesn't always feel like it,
There's so much more to life than our phones and social media.
I really love that video because it really gives some practical solutions for students to know right away, as soon as they have a phone, it's important to show them if they're on social media or something like that, or even in a bad text message chain, how to block someone that is not being kind to you. That you should tell a trusted adult, whether that is a parent or a teacher, just so that an adult can be aware. And I think that's a really important message. So, one of the really important things to understand is the difference between conflict and bullying. Because New Jersey has a high threshold for what is bullying, um, some of what we see when we're doing our investigations is really conflict, but we want to make sure that students are ready and capable to handle both situations, or specifically conflict, but also that they know that they can come to an adult if they're having trouble navigating that conflict. And conflict is a normal part of growing up. So conflict is generally mutual disagreement or opposing action. It could be an argument or fight. The person doesn't humiliate or embarrass or demean. That's not what it's intended to do. Conflict happens all throughout our life, and it's important that we know how to navigate that. And so we are working together, both you at home and here at the school district, to really support students so that they can understand how to disagree, how to have a fight and be frustrated and not hurt each other's feelings, and really be productive in a disagreement. So bullying, on the other hand, is really one-sided. It causes harm to the student, to the victim. It's meant to diminish self-worth of the victim, continues even when someone says stop. Generally, a person would keep doing it, and it's linked to that real or perceived characteristic. So that's the difference. During a conflict, sometimes someone might use a name or name calling, but conflict and bullying is super different from each other, because in conflict, people are equally involved in the disagreement. It's a mutual upsetness, anger, frustration. Whereas bullying, it's really this unwanted aggression, and aggression that would be that someone believes is going to physically or emotionally hurt someone. It's very one-sided, and the behavior is not to address a problem. Whereas in conflict, you're addressing a disagreement. It's just an aggressive way to not be kind to someone because of something, because of part of who they are. Okay, so just an example. So there's a parent manual on harassment, intimidation, and bullying on the state website. I've included the links at the end of this presentation. And it does go through some examples, which I think are really helpful. So for the elementary school, you copied my picture, you stole my idea. No, I didn't. And as you can imagine, because you have elementary school students at home, this might go on for 15 minutes. Yes, you did. No, you didn't. But then a bullying situation is a student grabs that picture, tears it up, and then starts making fun of you because of your religion or cultural heritage. And so you see that added layer. It's not an argument, right? It's someone trying to demean someone else because of who they are. And those are two very different things. And just remember that on the right side, the bullying, they would also have to hit those other thresholds that the ABS would be looking for. Okay, so if there's an HIB and it's founded. So just to go back a little bit, we call it HIB because it's harassment, intimidation, and bullying, and we call it HIB or HIB for short. How do we support the students? First, the victim might need some student conferences, maybe meet with our ABS or a social worker to make sure that they've unpacked the situation and know that they're supported. That work might go through the teacher supporting the child, doing some check-ins. So we want to just make sure that that child feels supported and loved. We might grab a few of that child's friends and have the friends really make sure they're really connecting with that child. Oh, this child's having a bad day. Can you make sure you're giving her the best recess or his best recess? The offender will be offered some remedial measures. So, for example, I have provided students when I was a principal some lessons on social skills, some lessons on prejudice or kindness, some lessons on conflict resolution or peer mediation. Some lessons may be targeted on the specific thing that the student was making fun of the child for. So, for example, if the child was bullying a student about a disability, I might bring in some books that talk about how we celebrate people with differences and all abilities, right? The same thing can be said for a lot of different characteristics that a student might be bullied for. So we really want to target those lessons specific to the situation. And then we would partner with you so that you could further those conversations at home. If an offender, and this is fairly rare, but if an offender or a student continues to bully several times, we begin an intervention plan so that the student might need more remedial measures. They may need additional supports. And that can look like a lot of different things. It might be support with some counseling measures or some sustained social skills lessons over time so that we can stop that behavior and make sure all of our students are physically and socially, emotionally safe in that classroom or grade level. Okay. So it's really important to partner with families. So I think it's really great to make sure that we have an open line of communication. So I love to talk to families when I start the investigation and when I end it, because I think it's an opportunity to collaborate with you so that we're all talking and having those similar conversations. And so what we want to do in the next few slides is really talk to you about what we're doing here at school and some ways that we can both move forward and help our students. So each year, actually it's this week, which Julia, I don't know if you did that on purpose, but it was perfect. This week is Week of Respect, which was established through the anti-bullying law, and our students take part in a variety of activities that support anti-bullying. Specifically this week, I know I was at MMS today and they were biking against bullying, and it was great. We saw kids and administrators all biking, so it was fabulous. We also have integrated harassment, intimidation, and bullying lessons in our curriculum. And so students will take part in each grade level in a series of 6 anti-bullying lessons, specifically to help students, 1, learn what to do if they're being bullied, 2, to understand the difference between conflict and bullying, 3, how to be an upstander, which we're going to talk about, how to help someone else who's being bullied. The curriculum also goes into what to do, what to say to someone who's bullying. And so it's really a great curriculum designed to give the students some advocacy and a voice so that they can help and know when to get help. Our K-5, our pre-K-5 also has morning meeting each day, and those morning meetings are really to build relationships with their classmates and also work on some social emotional learning skills. So they might talk about, they might talk to each other. They may talk about conflict resolution. They might they might take part in activities like games that build relationships, because we know that if we care about each other, we're less likely to bully each other, which is super important. We work on, we have social skills through our social worker program. We have social work interns who help students with social skills. So if we have a link to that at the end of our presentation if you feel your child would benefit from that program. And just teachers and adults modeling positive social skills is really important. We also have curriculum standards in health and PE that are devoted to bullying. Things like cyberbullying, social emotional skills, what the definition of bullying is, in a K-5 way, not a way that we just described before, how to get help from trusted adults, what to do with your if you experience bullying. And that all comes through our health curriculum and is specific to the needs of the different age groups in K-5, pre-K-5. So just to talk about some ways to support anti-bullying and to support kindness in our classrooms and at home. One thing that's really important is helping children understand other people's feelings. So really asking those questions of, oh, I wonder how that made so-and-so feel. And I have done this in the books that I read to my children. I have done this in hard situations at work, modeled it at the kitchen table, even talked about it if we're cuddling on the couch and watching a movie. You know, I would say something like, oh, I wonder how that made so-and-so feel in the movie we're watching. What are your thoughts on that? So those are all great ways to do that at home. And then we also do that at school when we talk about different feelings and how people are feeling and how did this action make someone feel. Teachers talk about their feelings, and that's really important. And then helping children respect the differences they see in others, right? That's super important, whether you're reading books about different people and their cultures or different abilities, whether you are sharing how much you love your diverse group of friends, how much you love your child's diverse group of friends, because they all bring something different to the relationship, and modeling good communication when we're frustrated. I know if I'm frustrated about something, I often bring it to my dinner table because I think that that's a great place to say, oh, I'm really frustrated with this person. This is how I'm gonna handle it. I'll never forget, I had a person who was being really frustrating at work a few years ago. And I said, as a 40-year-old woman, I said to the other 40-year-old woman on the other line, you're hurting my feelings. I'm going to hang up. Please call me back when you're ready to talk. And I will tell you, my kids giggled at me a little bit at the dinner table, right? They were middle schoolers, so they giggled. But I think that kind of discussion and modeling goes a long way in helping our kids know what to do when someone's hurting their feelings. So we want to keep developing those social emotional skills. So developing conflict resolution skills. We work on that throughout the day. Teachers work on that proactively. And then of course, sometimes after recess, we have, I call them teachable moments, where sometimes there's an argument on the playground and the teachers will help support those students right through that, that conflict. Asking questions, getting curious about the interactions on the playground, and asking, oh, that sounds like a really sad time for you. How did you manage that? What were some ways that you handled that? Or what were some ways that you could have handled that, right? We really want to give kids an impression that we believe that they are capable of handling most conflicts, right? And then if it's something that heads into bullying, then it's something that we can help them navigate. But that most conflicts, okay, did you use your words? Did you try and talk to them? Did you take a few minutes to take space? These are all things that we can talk about and ask our children about and get curious. I tend to be the mom who wants to give the suggestions, right, and tell my kids what to do. And I try and suppress that and lead with curiosity, because then they're doing doing the thinking about the situation. I think it's really important to make our views on bullying clear so that our kids know that they are not allowed to say derogatory words. I was in a situation yesterday, and I like to talk about home because I think it helps perspective. There was a bullying incident at my child's school, and I used it as another time to say, and just so you know, that would never be allowed in this house. And you'll get a lot of, I know, I wouldn't, but just making your views clear is super important. And then if we do get a call that our child is bullying, that's a really tough call to hear as a parent. And what I think parents worry about is that that it's a reflection of who they are as parents, who their children are going to be in 20 years. And we have to accept that our kids are going to make mistakes and we're going to help them grow. And that's okay. And that's the place that if you ever get that phone call, that we really hope that you answer with that in mind is, look, my kid made a mistake and we're going to fix it, right? And we're going to help them grow so that it doesn't happen again. And I think that that's hard to do as a parent, but it's super important that we do that. So one thing that we can do is we can help kids advocate, navigate conflict, disagree. One thing we have in our classrooms, many of our classrooms use accountable talk. And that's just some sentence starters that kids learn on how to agree or disagree around a math problem. Okay, how did you do that math problem? Oh, I disagree with that because I think we could have done it a different way. It may sound silly, but teaching them in math or language arts to agree or disagree on a point might transition, right, to their conflict on the playground. And using iMessages are really important. I like to use them with my kids. I use them at work. I'm feeling really frustrated when this happens, right? It takes the blame out of a situation, and it de-escalates a situation. And I have seen iMessages in pre-K 3. So all kids are capable of doing it. And it's really cute when they're pre-K 3 and they say, I'm feeling, and sometimes they use these big words, frustrated because, and it's really good, right? To give them those words so that they have them. And we can't teach them when they're frustrated, right? So you want to do it on a random Tuesday when everything's fine and you want to practice. We're going to help children listen and hear others, right? We're in a little bit of an egocentric time in K5. So listening to others, kind of empathizing with the other side, owning our part. I think that's hard for all people, but people that can own their mistake are the ones that are able to grow the most. So we talk about that, like own your stuff, own your mistake and apologize and move on. And then forgive and forget, right? We want to give people grace when there's a conflict. And that's important as well. So one of the things that we're going to develop over this next year is really a district-wide K5 response to bullying. So when someone is not saying kind words, we're going to say stop and use our hand. And we're going to say, I feel sad or whatever when you use that word. We're also going to teach kids what to do if someone says stop to you, right? Because it's two-sided. You have to know what to do, but you also have to know what to do when someone does that to you, right? And that might not always work. And the next thing that they're going to do is they're going to learn to walk away. And if that doesn't work, they're going to find an adult to help them. And those are the steps that we're going to teach everyone, so that at pre-K and K, we start building these skills and they have them as they go all the way through the elementary grades. And so that's going to be really important. That's being rolled out over the next month or so. So that's going to take a little time. And then we're hoping to continue that year after year. So I'm a big practicer at my house. So again, practicing on a random Tuesday, what to do during conflict. I don't like to use this time to emotionally harm anyone. So what I do to my kids is I say, okay, I'm going to call you a silly goose. What are you going to say? Right? I'm going to be frustrated because you didn't pass the ketchup. What are we going to do? Okay, you're going to use your iMessages. I feel sad when you don't pass the ketchup, right? So that we're practicing these skills, but we're not creating harm while doing that. Reading books that discourage prejudice is really important. Reading books about people different from our families is important. Learning together about social issues, talking openly about acceptance of others, learning about people who are different from you or your family, and helping children look at situations from multiple perspectives. So really helping our kids take that perspective of, I'm not the only perspective in the situation. So how might the other person have felt? Even if you think your child is wrong, that's an important step. Even if you think your child wasn't wrong, right? Let's say there was a conflict between two students and you think your kid was probably right in that situation. Really asking, what do you think the other person was feeling, is really a helpful way to build these skills. Okay, so we're going to take a few minutes to talk about upstanders and bystanders. So a bystander is really someone that's going to watch bullying happen, right? We know that when someone is being mean to someone else, sometimes a group of students just stands around and watch. It's possible that they might encourage the bad behavior, right? And we don't want students to do that. So what we do at schools, we talk about being an upstander. And an upstander sticks up for the victim. So what do they do and how do they do that? They don't encourage the bully, right? We don't say, yeah, keep saying it, or high five the person after they're mean. We stay at a safe distance and help get the victim away. So maybe your child says, you know what, Sarah, let's go. Let's just walk away from this. We might reach out to that child and say, you know what, let's go on the swing. We might call them that night and say, I'm sorry that you went through that. I'm thinking about you. We might, as upstanders, as students ourselves, tell an adult. We might need to go to, whether it's the lunch monitor or the teacher or the principal, we might need to tell an adult because that victim's not able to. And we tell them to take actions that are safe, right? We don't want children involved in stepping in the middle of anything physical. So we say, these are things you're going to do, but you're going to keep yourself safe. And being an upstander, kids are really proud to do that. So it's a really wonderful way to teach kids that they can be a part of the solution. And that's really important, because if we all are part of the solution, then it is a little bit easier and we can end bullying. Okay. So this is my favorite poster that we have when we're talking about bullying. And I think it's great to show third graders and fourth graders, but if you are a parent of some older kids like me, I still talk about this with my 16-year-old and 18-year-old. So before we post, we're going to think, right? Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Or is it kind? And if it is not those things, then we shouldn't post it. And to be quite frank, I think that's a great message for all of us, right? Because we've seen some of the negative stuff online. So I use this myself. So when I'm frustrated and I see something, I'm like, if I add to this conversation, is it all of these things? And so that's a great way to start. And I would also add that the students in pre-K to 5 really think about some of the social media that you're willing to give to your children, because their social media can be really tough, and students are not developmentally ready for some of the things that happen. And that's when they get into some of the bullying behavior. And so just really think about that before you give that up, and know that some of social media has messaging components that you might not know about. For example, TikTok may look like your student is scrolling, but really there's also a messaging center where some mean things can be posted back and forth. So that's just important to know as well. Okay. So to round out our discussion, I just wanted to go through some scenarios that you might want to think about or share with your children. I like these as dinner conversation. My husband and I are both educators, so our dinner conversation can be a little heavy. But really talking to our kids about, what would you do in this situation? How would you handle this? Or what would you do if you saw this situation? And really talk about being those upstanders. Some of these move closer towards bullying, and some of them move closer towards conflict. And I think both are important to share with your child. So here's an example. A new student started at your school this week. He's having trouble fitting in. Some of your friends have been laughing behind his back about his school lunch. What would you do? Right? And I think about my son in 5th grade, where a bunch of students were laughing about a student's lunch, and it was a lunch from the child's cultural background. And my son came home and cried because he had never seen people make fun of someone because of their lunch. And what do you do at this situation? Because doing nothing is not going to help this student. So we might ask our kids, what would you do if this was your friends, right? How could we help this student? And really talking about being an upstander in this situation. You receive an email, your child receives an email telling an embarrassing story about another student and their religion, and that child was mean to you. You know your friends wouldn't think it's funny. What do you do? Right? Great situation to ask your children. How are you going to help? Are you going to forward the email? Are you going to stop it in its tracks? Are you going to tell a trusted adult? And really have them think about that. And again, I encourage you not to give them the answer, although that is sometimes my go-to, and really have your child think about all the ways that they could help this situation. The meanest kid at school thinks it's funny to tease you every chance she gets because of the language you speak. You're afraid she's going to hurt you and you're starting to hate school. What do you do? Okay. How can we fix that situation? Who can we talk to if this is happening? Who can we go to? Who are our trusted adults? You know, letting them know that you, the teacher, the principal, any adult in the school can help navigate that situation. Someone shoves you and wants to fight you. You want to stick up for yourself, but you don't want to get into a fight. What would you do? Right? What are some things that we can do as kids to de-escalate this? Who do we go to? What can we say? And practicing that. Everyone is afraid of 3 mean kids at your school. You're afraid too. One day they ask you to hang out with them. What do you do? You sent a mean text about a kid who bullies to a friend, and your friend forwarded to others. It eventually got back to the kid. What do you do? What a great lesson for just because you think you sent it to one person doesn't mean the whole world's going to see it, right? We know that, but kids don't always know that. What do? You hear that someone you thought was a friend has been spreading cruel and untrue rumors about you. How do you handle that? You're invited to a birthday party, but your friend isn't. At the party, some kids make jokes about your friend's skin color and you laugh at him. What do you do? You're shy and sometimes you get teased. You have to admit it would be nice to have more friends. What do you do? So some of these, if you notice, do have a motivating factor. And I wanted to put those in there so that you knew that, or that we remember that the bullying generally has that motivating factor. But all of these situations are situations that we want our kids to have a clear understanding of the variety of ways that they can help, right? The variety of ways that they can get help if they need to. Because we want to make sure that kids have the tools to be supported, and we can help at the school. We know you can partner and help at home, and so really working together. So just know that these are some links that can be provided. We will put this, Julia, I believe we're taping this, so we can put the resources in the email that we send out. And this is also the QR code if your child, if you feel your child would benefit from the counseling services that we have at our elementary school that work with our social work intern. They run awesome groups and they work with individuals, which is really great for our students. Okay, I am going to stop sharing. Thank you, everyone. It was so nice to have everyone on. I really appreciate it. This is great.
Wonderful. Take care, everyone. Have a good night.